Hey guys, Matt the Greeter here, your friendly neighborhood. Well, I'm working on things. Friendly neighborhood Celtics fan, friendly neighborhood coffee junkie, friendly neighborhood hot sauce aficionado, eater of Carolina Reapers. Raw. Anyway, I don't think you'll see that video anytime soon. Honestly, when I ate the Carolina Reaper, at the time it was the hottest pepper, you know, you could get or whatever, and I got it from my sister-in-law bought it for me from Bohica Pepper Hut. And Bohica, they come out with all the super hots, man, all the super hots. They're so good. But I decided, well, I'm gonna take a bite just to see. Nobody was home, so I took a little bite, and then I took another little bite, and boy, I'll tell you, yeah, it did not disappoint. It was as hot as imaginable. And then I put it away. I was gonna use it, make a hot sauce or something like that. And then I thought about my friend who always said, he used to scoff. I'll bet I could find one if I drove for 15 minutes. I could find one of those stickers that he hates. 13.1? It's like half a marathon. Every time he'd see one of those stickers, he'd say, "Why don't you tell everybody you quit halfway?" Now, I can't run a half a marathon. But anyway, that was ringing in my head. Why don't you quit halfway? Why don't you tell everybody that you quit halfway? I was like, you know what? I gotta finish the pepper. So, I mean, I had my cell phone running just barely because I was afraid that actually, yeah, that's what I was afraid of. I was afraid of touching my phone and then coming back and touching my phone later with Reaper under my fingernails or something. You ever like cut a jalapeno and you get a little bit of jalapeno, a little capsaicin under your fingernail, and then you like brush your cheek or your under your eye, and you get that hot tracer fire that's just smoldering. So I was afraid of that. So the video that I got of it on my cell phone of me eating the entire, yes, thank you, Carolina Reaper, it was not really a great video because I couldn't you know, stage it. I couldn't do, you know, I couldn't film it properly. I'll put it that, much like this, which of course I also can't film properly, apparently. So that was a wonderful experience. And like, you eat one of those things and I think, I don't ever have to eat another one of those things because I did it already. Well, you think he's pulling over for another ambulance or something, but or another fire truck, but nope. So my students, when I was a teacher back in my early days, used to call me Trav. Hey, Trav. And now they'd call me Mr. Matt the Greeter, I think, if I was still teaching. But hey, Trav. One of my students came up to me, Trav, hey, check this out. You'll like it. It's new. And he gave me a burned CD. Speaking of things burning. And it was a band I'd never heard of. I mean, they were new. In his little, however old handwriting, Sharpie. The Mars Volta. And what it was my initiation into the Mars Volta album Deloused in the Comatorium, which absolutely, you can't hear an album like that for the first time a second time. Do you know what I'm saying? That album came from out of nowhere for me. Old Omar and his bandmates, I think the great Juan Alderete on bass. Juan Alderete, who got in a bicycle accident, oh man, just before coronavirus, I think, and knocked him into a coma. Really super scary, and he's kind of coming back to life. Juan Alderete played with in not only the Mars Volta, but I think Racer X. Come on, Racer X, look him up. But the Mars Volta, Deloused in the Comatorium, came at me with a fury It was sloppy, frenetic, beautiful, tragic. It was so incredible to have an experience like that come out of the blue. I had some cool students over the years. That was one of the... I don't exactly remember his name. I'm pretty good with names. But, well, I'm better with faces. So I can picture his face, but I can't remember his name. But I'll be forever grateful for that album. Which then I purchased a legit copy. Don't you worry. Don't worry. Deloused. There's a couple songs on that album. So, should I tell you the premise? You want to know the premise of the album? To the best of my knowledge? Which maybe, you check... I can't remember if I was reading it off the website. The album came out years ago by now. But so, there's this guy. It's fictitious, but we all know people. Right? So, this guy who was a helpless junkie. And a hopeless junkie. And he was really hard up for some stuff, so he ended up shooting himself with some rat poison, and he fell into a coma, and whilst in this coma he went to another world, and this world was crazy and terrifying and magnificent and beautiful and incredible and just kaleidoscopically wild. And he was there, and he was alive. And I think, pretty sure the album tells the story of his time in that world. And then at the end of the album, it starts to deconstruct a little bit, and then he snaps out of it. The doctors wake him up, and he's just crying out, "Who brought me here?" In other words, who woke me up? Because he spent his whole life trying to escape reality, and he had finally done so in this crazy world, and the doctors, thinking they were saving him, brought him back to where he never wanted to be in the first place. And I think he ends up taking care of business, and that's the end of him, because he's so devastated at having returned to the real world. So but the album, I'll tell you, boy, again, so I think part of what I like about it is it was the first album. It was a bit raw, unpolished, and let's see here. There we go. Pardon me. Pardon me. I'll just be a minute. Because it was so raw and unpolished, and I think that's part of the beauty of it. Because it needs to be raw, it needs to be unpolished, and subsequent Mars Volta albums, although technically adept and magnificent, just they don't quite, in my opinion, have the raw appeal and that very real nature to them. You know what I'm saying? So, but man, that first album, and there's a solo on there, a bass solo, that it's in the middle of a song, and I think it's FLEA. I think FLEA guests for a bass solo in this record. So Juan Alderete, who's a very accomplished bass player, and is not in need of anybody else to help him play a bass solo, graciously steps aside and allows FLEA to play a bass solo. If you can have FLEA on your album, you let him play, right? And you just trust him. He's gonna. And the solo is one of those where the bass comes in and it does its beautiful melody kind of thing, and then and as it descends or whatever, it blends in with the guitar, and the guitar picks up the solo from there. And it reminds me of was it Purple Stain, the Red Hot Chili Pepper song, when John Frusciante goes plays that slide, and then FLEA picks it up with the bass, so it's like a double slide, a slide down with the guitar, which is picked up by. It's a really cool move. But so the way the bass seamlessly weaves into and is picked up by the guitar solo. It's just, hey, it's a master class in how to solo. But anyway, that album's always been special to me. Number one, because it was a gift. A student heard of it and thought of me, and it took time to make a copy. And that stuff's meaningful when you're a teacher who cares about students, and these young people who are just trying to make it in a crazy world. When they do something for you, even if it's lousy, you gotta appreciate it. Because it's you know, any act of heart is an act worth cherishing. And so, you know, this CD was not a lousy gift. I mean, I'm talking about it today. This is 20 years later, maybe. Well, I don't know if it's 20 years. When did the album come out? Because that's when I got it. The minute it came out, he burned it because he thought of me. So, however long ago that was, as of today's date. So, anyway, guys, Matt the Greeter, I care about you. I care about these little gifts. I don't know if I've given enough little thoughtful gifts like that in my life. Maybe it's time to get in the game here. Maybe it's time to start showing some care about my fellow people. All right, guys, I'll check in with you soon. Hope you're having a great day, peaceable day. Have a cup of coffee. And think about those little gifts. All right, guys. Care about you. Check in with you soon. Bye.